leaders were trying to show some slides on the screen about Seventh-day Adventist, the beginnings of the Seventh-day Adventist work in Mizoram area, northeast. And everything was so beautiful. They were showing the way people lived, the houses that they lived in, how people would marry so many women, etc., how they would carry loads of water from the valley below and climb up on the hills and fetch for themselves water. And then suddenly the speaker pointed out of a man, the picture of a man. And he said, this man had never taken shower in his whole life. Very interesting. So naturally, we would not like to be near anyone who probably has had that kind of experience. But Jesus was not thinking of this man, I'm pretty sure, as a mean person, useless person, uneducated person. Or Jesus did not question his societal background or his ethnicity. Jesus was not considering him to be a member of a minority group. Jesus was just looking at him as one of God's creation. He was looking at this man like any other human beings who have hopes and promises. So out of these two experiences, I have titled my talk tonight to be the significance of being insignificant. The significance of being insignificant. So many controversies have been raging through the centuries on this earth. Controversies in which the two poles sometimes come and collide, or sometimes they go either way, two extremes of the continuum. Controversies between God's ways and man's ways. Think of the two extremes. Between rich and poor. Those who are rich, very poor. Between those who are strong on one side and those who are weak on the other side. Controversies between leaders and followers. Controversies between those who may consider themselves literate, educated on one end, and on the other side, those who may be uneducated or illiterate. Controversies between voiceless and those with strong voices. Two poles. Controversy between minority and majority. Controversy between those who are physically challenged, emotionally challenged on one side, and on the other side, those who may consider themselves normal. Controversies between those who might consider themselves those haves and the have-nots. Controversy between those who might consider themselves belonging to elite groups of the society, and those who might be on the other end downtrodden, depressed. Controversy between those who might consider themselves ordinary people, as opposed to those who may consider themselves extraordinary. Between the wise and the foolish. Between those who may be neglected and those who may consider themselves privileged. And I guess this list will go on. But there have always been tug of war, so to say. And there has not been too much of a meeting ground, a common meeting ground between these two types of groups. Now, I know most of you are from India. 500 years ago, in India, the caste system was formed. And it was formed in a very basic premise. And the premise was that all men are born unequally. That's where the 4 divisions of caste came about. Just to make it very short on that one, the very first group was Brahmins. And it is said, it is believed, that the Brahmins came out of the Creator's shoulders. So they were right up here. Kshatriyas came out of the arms of the Creator. And naturally their jobs were divided for them. Brahmins, they were to teach and lead others. Kshatriyas were to fight for their society and for their country. The third caste group was Vaishyas. And they had emerged from the thighs of their Creator. So you see, they're going down. And their responsibility and their occupation was to cultivate and trade. And the fourth caste group was that of Shudras. And where do you think they emerged from? From the feet of their Creator. And their job was to do menial jobs, menial tasks, dirty jobs. Statistically in India, 1 out of every 5 Indians, no, 1 out of every 6 Indians is a Shudra. Mahatma Gandhi later on gave them the name Harijans, people of God. Later on, they preferred to be called Dalits, which meant people who were oppressed, people who were downtrodden, people who were considered low in every respect. So they were insignificant people, naturally. There are so many accounts of atrocities about these groups of people going on even now. This type of people are all over the world. Gypsies is another group of people, found almost in every country of the world. In Europe, they were scorned, persecuted, and sold like slaves. They were just like untouchables. Friends, tonight, I just want you to consider with me, our God and Creator sees things differently. He sees greatness in small things, richness in poverty, strength in weakness, and hope in hopelessness. He promises peace, healing, and rest, especially for those who are oppressed and downtrodden. Poet John Milton, who wrote the epic poem, Paradise Gained, Paradise Lost. I think most of you know about this. You have studied this in your college. Milton became blind later on in his life. And when he became blind, he thought the whole world had left him. He had no hope. But he was a poet, and he wanted to continue writing poems. And that's when he wrote that epic poem, Paradise Lost and Gained. But one of those lines are so precious to me and to many others I know. He wrote those famous lines where he said, "They also serve who just stand and wait." They also serve who just stand and wait. Milton became so discouraged because he became blind. He thought he could not offer his God anything that was of great worth. What could a blind man do anyway? But after lots of thinking,